I felt extremely compelled to make this video due to the overabundance of ignorance going on in the political space and to just average people that don't pay attention to politics at all. This video is gonna be for everybody though. If you're on the right, it's time to face reality and learn some things you probably did not know. And if you're on the left, you probably already know this stuff, but if you don't, you're gonna be thoroughly entertained by the information you're gonna be given. And if you're a centrist, refer to what I said to the people on the right, because we all know. So today I'm going to be laying down exactly why Donald Trump is unequivocally the most anti-American former president and probably politician in history that we've ever had. I'll spare you the same old about the lying, about the sexual assault, the impeachments, lack of policy, bad business, all that. Yeah, we'll whop the bam. And instead of rehashing all the things that get the biggest headlines, we're going to focus in on the more obscure things that Donald Trump has done and why I think that he's the most anti-American politician / president we've ever seen in history. First things first, let's get straight into it. We have Trump insulting John McCain. John McCain was a politician and a U.S. Navy officer as a young adult and then became a U.S. Senator from 1987 to 2018 when he unfortunately passed away. John McCain was the Republican nominee for president in 2008 and lost to Barack Obama. In 1967, he was on a mission in Vietnam when his aircraft was fired on and shot down and crashed into a lake in Vietnam. After being severely injured from the crash and regaining consciousness, he then became a prisoner of war for 5.5 years. They kept him as a prisoner of war because he refused to go back home to the U.S. unless every other prisoner of war captured before him got sent home first. He was tortured in 2-hour intervals and even attempted suicide. For all of this, he was awarded a Silver Star Medal, the Legion of Merit, 3 bronze medals, and the Purple Heart Medal when he returned home. Knowing all of this, this is how Donald Trump felt about him, simply due to a disagreement in policy ideas.
He insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
Now, I'm sure you all know that in America, one thing we almost all can agree on is that we respect our troops and the armed forces. And there's absolutely no reason that Donald Trump should have the unmitigated gall to disrespect somebody that put their entire life on the line for something that he couldn't fathom doing in a million years. Especially when you take into consideration that we know that he's a draft dodger who faked having bone spurs to avoid getting drafted into Vietnam. If you ask me, this is somewhat unforgivable for somebody that's running to be the commander-in-chief. I think that a lot of us can say that we've had idols or currently have idols, people we look up to, feel like we resonate with, can relate to, or have done things that we aspire to do in the future. Usually that's what idols revolve around. And Donald Trump has his idols too. And for some reason, it's of an affinity towards people that's authoritarian across the world, people like Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin. Yet, as we saw, he'll disrespect and look down upon our own political leaders and our own troops, but hold in high regard authoritarians in other countries.
I was very honored as a man. Viktor Orban, anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And President Xi is like central casting. There's nobody in Hollywood that can play the role of President Xi. The look, the strength, the voice. It's good to have a good relationship with Putin and Xi and all these people that have lots of nuclear weapons. And Kim Jong-un I had a good relationship with. He's a tough, smart guy. He's strong like granite. He's strong. I know him very well. President Xi of China. And he's standing there. He's a fierce person. He runs 1.4 billion people with an iron hand. And they say, oh, he said good things about him. No, he happens to be a very smart person. If I say a certain leader is smart, that's controlling a big part of the world, The press gets upset that I say smart because that's a good thing. No. Very smart people. These are very smart people, but they're dealing with very stupid people. Even Vladimir Putin. Has anybody ever heard of Vladimir Putin? Of Russia says that Biden's, and this is a quote, politically motivated persecution of his political rival is very good for Russia because it shows the rottenness of the American political system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy. President Xi is a brilliant man. You know, when he first came to Mar-a-Lago, he came the first day, he was there for a few days. We were going to have it was so organized by them and by us, but by them. Very boom, boom, boom. Now this man I really got along with well. We had Little Rocket Man, we had the red button. He said, I have a red button on my desk, and I said, no, I have a red button too, and mine's bigger than yours and mine work. Well, he is very talented. Anybody that takes over a situation like he did at 26 years of age and is able to run it and run it tough. Really, he's got a great personality. He's a, funny guy. He's a very smart guy. He's a great negotiator. He loves his people. Not that I'm surprised by that, but he loves his people.
Now, of course, at face value, you don't have to take these statements seriously, but Trump has done everything in his power to try and keep power, which lends credence as to why he holds authoritarian leaders in such high regard. Since Donald Trump ran for re-election in 2020, and even before, Donald Trump was consistently maintaining the idea that the election was going to be stolen from him. And he said for months that it was going to be an unfair election and that his base shouldn't do mail-in voting. And the only way he would lose is if there was cheating involved.
Can't play games, get out and vote, do those beautiful absentee ballots, or just make sure your vote gets counted. Make sure, because the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that. It's the only way we're going to lose this election. So we have to be very careful. Now look, this is more than this election. That's a big statement. The only way they're going to win is that way.
And what Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. But that doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. The Democrats, more of our people vote early that count. Theirs vote in mail. And so they're going to have a natural disadvantage, and Trump's going to take advantage of it. That's our strategy. He's going to declare himself a winner. So when you wake up Wednesday morning, it's going to be a firestorm. We're going to have Antifa crazy, the media crazy, the courts are crazy, and Trump's going to be sitting there mocking, tweeting shit out. You lose. I'm the winner. I'm the king. And he'll be all over. He'll be going, where's Hunter? Is Hunter on a crack pipe? I mean, no, he'll be, because then it doesn't matter. Remember, here's the thing. After that, Trump never has to go to a voter again. He's going to fire Ray, the FBI director, and he's going to say, fuck you. How about that? Because he's never going to, he's done his last election. Oh, he's going to be off the chain. He's going to be crazy. Also, if Trump is losing by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it's going to be even crazier. Because he's going to sit right there and say they stole it.
Agree.
I'm directing the Attorney General to shut down all ballot places in all 50 states. It's going to be, no. He's not going out easy. If Biden's winning, Trump is going to do some crazy shit.
What you just heard was Steve Bannon, Trump's former chief strategist during his presidency, whom he fired early on into his presidency for being too far right, and for a lack of better words. But no one could have predicted how true Steve's prediction would be. Leading up to the November 2020 election, Trump constantly riled up his base to believe that there was absolutely no way he could lose. And in the end, he lost. But for Donald Trump, that means absolutely nothing. Donald Trump can't even lose his toupee. So how could he lose the presidential election? Upon defeat, Trump refused to concede losing the election and consistently tried to pressure his cabinet, investigators, other politicians, and his vice president to come up with evidence to prove that there was tampering with the election and that it was stolen.
And, look, this country is counting on it because it's very interesting. So I won Florida in a record number, Ohio in a record, Texas in a record, Alabama by 40 points. and I won everything but Georgia, and I won Georgia. I know that by a lot, and the people know it, and something happened there. I mean, something bad happened, and I hope you're doing that stop, because if you, I hope you're going back 2 years as opposed to just checking, one against the other, because that would just be sort of a signature check that didn't mean anything. But if you go back 2 years, and if you can get to Fulton, you're going to find things that are going to be unbelievable. The dishonesty that we've heard from them.
Right.
Just good sources, really good sources. But Fulton is the mother lode, as the expression goes, Fulton County.
Right.
And,
well, Mr. President.
I don't want to say,
Right. I appreciate your comments, and I can assure you that our team and the GBI, that we're only interested in the truth and finding finding the information that's based on the facts. And we've been working 12, 16-hour days, and we're working through it. And so I can assure you that. And I do appreciate you calling. I know that you're a very, very busy, very important man, and I'm very honored that you called. And and quite frankly, I'm shocked, and that you would take time to do that. But I am very appreciative.
No, Mark asked me to do it. He thinks you're great, and you have the most important job in the country right now, because if we win Georgia, first of all, if we win, you're going to have 2 wins. They're not going to win right now. They're down because the people of Georgia are so angry at what happened to me. They know I won by hundreds of thousands of votes. It wasn't close. And Alabama, where they go, because I won South Carolina in a record, Alabama in a record, Florida in a record. I won Florida by 600,000 or 700,000 votes. It's never happened before.
But we've had hundreds of thousands of ballots that we're able to actually, we'll get you a pretty accurate number. You don't need much of a number, because the number that, in theory, I lost by the margin would be 11,779. But you also have substantial numbers of people, thousands and thousands, who went to the voting place on November 3rd, were told they couldn't vote. Were told they couldn't vote because a ballot had been put in on their name. And, that's very, 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 very sad. Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that? Because that's illegal.
Ryan, Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County.
But if they moved, have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Brian?
I'm sure, Mr. President.
What about the ballots? The shredding of the ballots. Have they been shredding ballots?
No. The only investigations that we have into that, they have not been shredding any ballots. There was an issue in Cobb County where they were doing normal.
But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are removing machinery, and they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination. We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us a judge.
I truly wish that I could play you the entirety of these phone calls, but collectively, they're over an hour long. But I will put the links to those in the description if you want to listen to those phone calls in their entirety. Now, we all know that Hillary was a sore loser, and clearly Trump is too. But calling investigators, calling the Secretary of State to overturn the election and to just tell them that the vote counts aren't legitimate, why would you even look to the court system or investigators if you're going to tell them what you think really happened and disregard everything they tell you and tell them that you know exactly what's wrong and they need to find that issue?
And I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. Because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All he has to do, this is from the number one, or certainly one of the top constitutional lawyers in our country. He has the absolute right to do it. We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. States want to revote. The states got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify. And we become president, and you are the happiest people.
What is Trump asking Pence to do? He wants Mike Pence to reject the electors' votes and accept the false slate of electors that Donald Trump himself sent to lie for him in order to change the results for Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Of course, all swing states. How do we know that this is true exactly? You know, some people believe it, some don't. Because it is explicitly laid out in the indictment for the United States versus Donald Jaquan Trump. These are facts that not even Donald Trump himself refutes. After being told by every single person around him, whether they were handpicked butt buddies or tenured politicians, the same story was that there was absolutely no voter fraud or election tampering to the magnitude that would change the outcome of the election. Donald Trump knew this and he did not care. So at this point, Trump has mind-fucked his base to think that the election was never going to be legitimate. He loses the election fair and square. He rejects the results. 60-plus courts across the entire country either found no widespread fraud or flat out didn't take his case due to no standing. He's harassed investigators, state officials, and his own damn vice president to overturn the results. And now we come to January 6th, the day that the peaceful transfer of power is supposed to be conducted and Mike Pence is supposed to certify the votes.
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
I'm not allowed to say what's going to happen today because everyone's just going to have to watch for themselves. But it's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Who's free? Our streets! Who's free? Our streets! Who's free? Our streets!
I'll lay my life down if it takes. Absolutely. That's why we showed up today.
I know people love to disconnect Trump's actions and his speech from the chaos that ensued at the Capitol that day. But the words peacefully protest being said once during an hour-long plus speech does not outweigh the overarching sentiment that Donald Trump was putting out. Trump very much let it be clear that he did not want the peaceful transfer of power or the certification of the votes. How do we know? Because for 3 hours as the violence raged on, he did absolutely nothing but watch at home and take no action. to stop it. We know this because his kids and House representatives have confirmed it. Oh yeah, and what did he say about the Constitution?
Because you're sworn to uphold our Constitution.
So, with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception, and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Exactly. He wanted to suspend the Constitution. I don't know about y'all, but that is insane. What man that took the official oath to our country would ever even consider to suspend the Constitution for their own personal gain? Trump does not care about democracy. He doesn't care about the American people, and he doesn't care about the founders of this country. Donald Trump simply cares about himself and prays for simply existing. There's no reason that 2 years later, after every court in the country has told you that there was no voter fraud, that you are still trying to rile up your base to think that there has been some type of wrongdoing bestowed upon you. After almost 5 years of knowing that there has been no voter fraud, there was no overturning of the election, there was no cheating involved, Trump to this day still says that he will pardon the people that were convicted of crimes during that day.
Mr. President, I would love to ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order. Yeah. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely. Sure. You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack. People in Portland that destroyed that city.
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to
my
the
question
people
is
that
on
tried
those
to bring
rioters who assaulted officers.
You have to
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You would pardon those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just well, they were convicted by a very tough system. They were.
At this point, you can't have it both ways. Either Donald Trump is severely psychotic and mentally ill and is unfit to be president because he can't distinguish what's reality versus what's going on in his head, or he's an intentional liar that will do anything to keep power and save face. Even after all of this, I'm sure that I'm not going to convince MAGA Republicans or MAGA supporters that Trump is the most anti-American politician, but I do know that cognitive dissonance is a hard thing to grapple with, so I get it. MAGA loyalty should be and probably will be studied as a phenomenon in history because the level of loyalty that some people have to this person, to the point that it supersedes their principles of the party they affiliate themselves with, is something that I cannot comprehend. Donald Trump is the antithesis of what this country is supposed to represent and is undoubtedly not a person that should even be whispered of to be president of the United States.
And frankly, the profound issues about the First Amendment to the courts to sort that out. But look, I think it's important that the American people know what happened in the days before January 6th. President Trump demanded that I use my authority as vice president presiding over the count of the Electoral College to essentially overturn the election by returning or literally rejecting votes. I had no authority to do that. And frankly, Martha, it seems to me that some of the argument that I hear coming between the lines from his lawyers is something of a concession that he may have gotten bad advice, that he was just taking advice from his attorneys. But look, I know I did the right thing that day. I'll always stand by it. It was a tragic day. But again, by God's grace, with my family at my side, with my key advisors at our side, and with the courageous work of law enforcement at the Capitol, we quelled the violence. We reconvened the Congress and completed our work. The only job the Constitution gives the Vice President of the United States in that role is to preside over a joint session of Congress where the Electoral College votes that are certified by the states are opened and counted. The Constitution, Martha, literally says they shall be opened and they shall be counted. And the Electoral Count Act, adopted more than 150 years ago, also specifies the amount of time and the procedure. I was going to make sure that we heard any objections and we heard any evidence that people wanted to bring forward to support objections. But the idea that I, as Vice President, had the unilateral authority to overturn the election had no basis in the Constitution, no basis in history. And I want the American people to know that. And I'll continue to stand on the principle that I did my job that day by God's grace.
Man, if you made it to this point in the video, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you ever could understand. This is my first time doing a video like this with this much research, editing, learning, you know. I do like it. It was extremely fun, so I hope to do more. So if you made it to this point, I'm assuming that you liked it. Leave me anything that you liked, didn't like, what you want to see next time, any topics. I have a Discord in the description of my page that you can join and shoot me ideas, and we can chop it up and talk about all the things that I cover on this channel. I love to have conversations, and I want to have them with the people that like the things that I like, and we could communicate in and out on YouTube, off YouTube, you know what I'm saying? So I truly appreciate it. And if you made it and you're not subbed, leave a like, comment, sub. If not one, then all three. And I really hope to catch you at this point of a video in the next one. Peace.